account by 3 different people, all professionals, and they're all very, very, very similar. All people are Navy professionals, none of which have really made money from this event. None of which are active in the UFO or UAP world, okay? Now, I did hear Fravor say on an interview that he didn't know what the Phoenix Lights were. In other words, the Phoenix Lights to the UFO crowd, that was a big deal. He was asked on a podcast, I heard him say this, what about the Phoenix Lights? And Fravor said, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what that is. He's not a UFO guy, okay? He's just a Navy pilot who saw some things. And Fravor isn't the only one that I've heard speak on the record that he believes that the Tic Tacs are from another world. In fact, the government has basically said they're not man-made, so what does that mean? And if you listen to his reasoning, he truly has a point, okay? I mean, think about it. If you listen to his reasoning, he truly has a point. Fravor, Day, Underwood, and many other Navy personnel aboard the Nimitz and the Princeton saw the Tic Tacs, either as eyewitnesses or via radar. Now, let's just say, for the sake of argument, okay, let's just say the Tic Tacs were craft, maybe drones or something else belonging to another country, or maybe even to our country just flying out there, and maybe it was a different branch of the military and the Navy didn't know about it. Let's just say that was the case, okay? Even the U.S. government, a U.S. government special project, okay? 2004 was 16 years ago. Now, why has this technology, if it's from somebody here on this planet, whether our country or not, why hasn't it surfaced 16 years later? If some government, even ours, has this technology, could you imagine how it could be used in warfare or used as a deterrent against war? Either one. And it hasn't. It hasn't been revealed. After 16 years, it hasn't been used at all. Don't you think that it would? Think about it. It has to be something that we don't understand. Maybe from another world. Maybe from another time. Maybe from another dimension. Okay? I mean, consider things like dogs can hear sounds that we can't hear. A bloodhound can sniff a scent and follow that scent. We can't smell that scent, but a dog can. Eagles can see a mouse on the ground from 400 feet up in the air. We can't see that. So animals have different gifts that we don't have. Who's to say other beings don't have gifts and can do things that we can't? Maybe it's another time. Maybe they know about time travel. Maybe they know about bending dimensions. I don't know. But the government is giving us the slow drip of full disclosure. They've gone from Roswell was really a weather balloon to, hey, we don't know what this is, but it's not of this world. When the Pentagon says that, that's huge. They've admitted the existence of UFOs. They don't call them UFOs. They call them UAPs. So the government has now, in a roundabout way, said, yep, UFOs are real. Stanton Friedman was laughed out of the government or laughed at by the government for saying UFOs are real. Now the government is saying, well, UFOs aren't real, but UAPs are. Same. They've admitted that they're in possession of materials from somewhere other than Earth. The government has admitted that. And they can't explain what those materials are. Roswell, Cape Girardeau, unexplained. Other sightings, unexplained. Commander Fravor said on the Lex Friedman podcast, I listened to that this week, that about 85% of UAP sightings can be explained. It's probably more than that, okay? That means that millions can't. Now, if there's millions of sightings out there that can't be explained, consider two things. First of all, what about the ones that weren't seen by people? Wouldn't you think that at least some of those have crashed? Some out of millions? For instance, the O'Hare Airport UFO sighting back in 2006, the Stevensville Light sightings back in 2008, the East Coast Go Fast videos in 2015, the World War II Foo Fighters, the account back from Aurora, Texas in 1897, That was in a newspaper, okay? A Dallas newspaper just outside of Aurora, Texas, about a UFO crash. This was in 1897. The Wright brothers hadn't even been able to fly anything. People couldn't fly, yet this was about a flying saucer that ran into a church steeple, okay? Some say the Virgin apparatus at Fatima was a UFO sighting. The Dancing Sun back in 1917. And I could go on and on and on. Now, dear listeners, these cases are real. They're factual. Now, they're something other than swamp gas, something other than flares, something other than St. Elmo's fire, or the silly things that have been trying to be passed off as UFOs, UAPs in the past. Now, I don't know what they are. I really don't. But I do know what they are not. I'm an avid reader, and I've read everything written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. And let me rephrase that. I've read all these Sherlock Holmes stories written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, every one of them. And Sherlock Holmes says, look, to find out what the truth is, you eliminate all the possibilities that they aren't, and what's left is the truth. Well, we know what they are not. And just about all that's left is something from somewhere else. Now, I offer these cases to you for your consideration, okay? That's all I do. I offer these cases to you for your consideration. Maybe for your entertainment, but certainly for your consideration. One final note before I wrap up. There was another story. In fact, this was fairly recently. It was sent to me by Jeff Colonna earlier this morning, and I read this. And it has to do with something that happened just recently that's related. And again, this is off of the Hill. That's generally a political website. And it was first reported in the UK Guardian. Now, scientists, as you know, have been involved in a project in search of alien life. They're now investigating a mysterious radio wave signal that appears to have come from Proxima Centauri. That's the closest star to our sun. Now, the UK Guardian first reported the finding yesterday, writing that the emission was picked up during 30 hours of observation by the Parkes telescope in Australia back in April and May of last year. Why it's just coming out now, I don't know. But scientists are working on the Breakthrough Listen project. Now, what that is, they've been investigating this emission since its detection last year. However, the Guardian has reported that scientists found a shift in the beam's frequency that's consistent with movement of a planet. In other words, it shifts kind of like a planet rotates. They've linked the two together. Now, an individual in the astronomy community who spoke on conditions of anonymity because the work is going on, they told the Guardian the beam appears to have come from the direction of Proxima Centauri, but it's not been spotted again since they first picked it up. Now, the source told the newspaper that the most recent beam is the first serious candidate since the WOW signal that was picked up by the Big Ear Radio Observatory in Ohio back in 1977. Now, Breakthrough Listen, launched back in 2015 by a Silicon Valley-based science and technology investor, Yuri Milner, surveys the 1 million stars closest to Earth, 1 million of them, and listens for messages from the 100 closest galaxies to ours to find evidences of civilization beyond Earth. So they found this, okay? What is it? We don't know. Now, who has talked about this sort of thing? In the past, how about Stephen Hawking? In fact, Stephen Hawking said, mankind has a deep need to explore, to learn, to know. Hawking continues, we also happen to be sociable creatures. It's important for us to know if we're alone in the dark. Now, what is this sighting or what is this anomaly? Nobody knows, but it's something different. And like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, we need to find out what it is not to know what it is. Don't know what it is. Nobody knows what it is, but they do know. They're trying to eliminate what it isn't, okay? So that just happened. It happened a year ago, but it was just released yesterday. So again, we go from 2014 to 2017, 13 years later. Now we're going from last year to this year. So as this stuff comes out, the the lag time between what's been seen to the report time continues to get smaller. That, again, is another step towards full disclosure to me. Now, let me wrap up. Why do I offer these cases for your consideration at all? Like this, my podcast is not a UFO show, okay? I'm not interested in being on coast to coast, okay? It interests me, but why am I doing this? 2 weeks in a row now, okay? At the very most, I hope that you seriously consider the possibilities that we're being visited by beings from another planet, or perhaps another dimension, or perhaps from another time. At the very, very least, I hope that I've caused your thoughts to detour from the COVID-19 pandemic, okay? The self-serving politicians, the disingenuous journalists jamming your thought process, okay? And perhaps, just perhaps, your common sense. That's why I do this podcast. That's why I bring up UFOs for the second week in a row. Maybe lighter fare. And at the very, very, very least, I hope that during this 41 minutes and counting, I've entertained you and caused you to smile at least one time, okay? During all this mess that we're in. If yes, if you smiled at least once during this podcast, then I've accomplished my goal to make you smile, dear listeners. Well, that's it. I'm done. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. JamesStrongShow@hotmail.com. That's the best way to get the podcast. And send me emails. I love the emails or instant messages or texts or the many ways you can get a hold of me. Again, lots of responses from last week's show. That's why I did a part 2 for this week's show. I had more responses to last week's show than I've had probably in 6 months. Okay. Keep telling me what you want to hear, and I'll do it within reason. That's it. I'm done. Hope you enjoyed the show. Until next time, this is James Strong saying adios.